Greetings friends, Reformed Stoic, back again with another video. The title of this video is Gatekeeping Friends, and I think this one's pretty important. So, I'm going to make this video pretty quick, I think. Just a fair warning. Another piece of advice that I think would bode well for a younger audience. The sooner this advice gets to you, the better. So you can avoid gatekeeping friends. So the way that a gatekeeping friend works is, I can tell you in my experience, it was people who were some of my best friends. These are people who are going to want to get very close to you, and I think part of what causes this is when you're taking friends from early childhood into more preteen, young adulthood. Because ultimately, what do kids do? You know, they kind of just waste time, play video games, eat snacks, watch movies, play imagination games, run around, have fun, and screw off. And ultimately, though I have fond memories of living that way, that's kind of a sign of like a latchkey kid, unsupervised childhood that could lead to dysfunction later in life. So just drawing from my own experience, lots of unsupervised time, late nights, staying up all night, drinking soda, playing video games, movies, while, you know, your other peers are going to bed early. Their parents have stricter rules and regulations on them. They got more chores. Maybe they're getting jobs earlier. They're already involved in sports. And they're expected to spend their time more wisely and be more productive. Now, I'm not saying that, like, it's never appropriate to have overnights, but overall, on a semi-unrelated note, I do think that, you know, if I'm ever a parent, overnights are not really going to be much of a thing. And you hear that a lot, especially in the Christian community. Just unsupervised time for children is kind of a negative thing. And if there are going to be overnights, they're going to be very strict and supervised. You know, I'd be more likely to let my son have his friend stay over than vice versa. So anyway, so you have friends 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. A few of these people that I'm thinking of in my mind, they were my friends. They checked that box. They were my friends all the way back to elementary school. And, you know, we would make prank phone calls, stay up late, watch movies, have snacks, play video games. And the sad thing is that those are great memories, you know? Just early developmental childhood friendships. But the more I think about it, especially middle school, okay? Like, I was having overnights in elementary school, but, you know, those were a little bit more supervised. They were a little bit less chaotic. Middle school, I look back on that, and it's so evident that I had just absolutely no structure. As I got better at drumming, you know, that at least kind of pulled me in some sort of an organized direction. I got really involved in school music programs in high school. So that at least pulled me towards something that was a little bit more productive. But middle school was chaos. That's when it really became like overnights. One of my former childhood friends, he ended up developing full-on insomnia, and he would end up like skipping school a lot because he couldn't get enough sleep. And, you know, I think about when I stayed the night at his place, and he'd have like 4 or 5 people stay the night all the time, always staying up till like 7 in the morning, drinking lots of soda. Chaos, okay? That's the point. It starts in chaotic friendships. I'm not saying you can't have gatekeeper friends in other contexts, but I think, like, the first time you will run into gatekeeper friends, almost guaranteed, is if you had this kind of latchkey kid, unsupervised, chaotic, what I call Lord of the Flies childhood, where especially when you get to 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, lots of overnights, like maybe every weekend you're going to be doing overnights, soda, video games, movies, all-nighters. And then what happens is you're either going to do that for your entire life, which on some level means you're not going to be like a very productive person, or you start moving on to something else. And I already had hints of potential to move on to something else eventually, and as did other people. But I shifted through a lot of different friends as I grew up, but then this is also a small town, and everybody kind of like filtered back into the same group when it came to the party scene here. But what's going to happen, man, is people are going to play this card like they know you, and what they know about you is very selective. Like, they know that you're talented, they know that you're smart, they know that you're developing, they know that you're changing, they know that you've grown a lot, they know that you've improved a lot, but those are the things that they're not really going to point out as often. What they're going to point out is all of your negatives. You know, it's like who you are is like a grocery store, and they got their little shopping basket, and it's like, oh yeah, there was that time he threw up at my house. There's that time, like all the way back in 5th grade when somebody made him cry. Oh, there was that time that, you know, I beat him up when he was like 90 pounds and now he's 160 pounds. And, oh, you know, not that 160 pounds is that big, but it's like they got their little shopping cart and they're just kind of collecting all of the dirt that they've been gathering from you over all these years. And guys, the way that you avoid this kind of like surveilling activity is just, I am all about productivity, you know? I don't know if I want to use the term like authoritarian, but I gotta say, when it comes to like a childhood, I have a very strict kind of authoritarian leaning mindset where it's like, I'll tell you what, this is like an extreme thing to say. It's reality. Your kids aren't going to be abused when they're like in daylight, involved with stuff connected to the system. I kind of felt hesitant as I started saying that. It's because, like, well, you know, you hear things happening like with coaches and authority figures and teachers. It's a dangerous world out there. Bad things happen. But overall, when messed up stuff like that happens, it's when your kid is like unsupervised and away from the authorities, okay? It's like the school and the sports and the activities is like the kingdom and the castle, and the overnights is like going off into the woods, like far away from everybody, from where everybody is, you know? And who knows what kinds of weird stuff can happen out there to you or to your undeveloped child. But the point about the latchkey kid childhood is that these things are kind of like security blankets. Like video games is like a security blanket. Overnights are like a security blanket. And one person in that group is going to maybe start changing and developing. Luckily enough, it's like you have this kind of inner nature that just guides you towards victory, even though, you know, kind of no thanks to your parents and no thanks to your teachers and no thanks to anything around you. But, you know, you might have run into a couple of good influences along the way. I gotta say, like, one of the ones I've never shouted out was the older drummer here. The guy who was a junior in high school when I was a freshman. He was kind of the hotshot drummer, and he had a huge influence on me. He had an absolute huge influence on me. He low-key taught me more than my drum teacher did. I don't know, like, it was kind of low-key, as in a lot of people around me probably didn't realize that. But yeah, I ran into a couple of good role models, as many people will, but... And you might not even actually be doing anything yet, because your gatekeeper friends are so militant and so surveilling of you because you've developed this close, unhealthy friendship. Okay? It's sad. I feel like my life has really been a case study of how unhealthy these kind of chaotic Lord of the Flies relationships can be, because I used to be a social butterfly. And what happens, guys, is if you don't have a defense system against any of this stuff and you're just easygoing and you're a social butterfly and you start getting preyed upon by narcs and gatekeeper friends and all these toxic relationships that you've developed from not having good boundaries, that is a very that creates a very good chance that your social life is going to completely explode or implode as you grow. I mean, the water, it's like that's the seed, okay? All the dysfunctional relationships, not having boundaries, that plants the seed, and the water is having potential and talent, and then more water is like your life not going well, and man, it just creates the perfect disaster, which is what took me from being a social butterfly and being one of the most popular people here growing up to completely crashing and burning and losing all of my friends. And ultimately, what people will point out is like, well, you flipped out and you lashed out. Well, yeah, that's from like the Chinese water torture droplets of just kind of like contemplating people's bullcrap over all the years and then just lashing out at like a million paper cuts from just people kind of, because this is what the gatekeeper friends do. They throw you under the bus at like opportune moments. You know, you're gonna go to the party to get together, and the party scene is where all the guys are low key competing to hook up with these skanky girls. Okay, and it's on at that point. It's on. Your little childhood friendship, best friends forever. Everybody wants to get the girl, and there's some guys that I can think of that they have like deep insecurity, and they realize, like, it's not even that they realize they could never get any of the girls. They have deep insecurity and like a horrible self-esteem issue and self-esteem problems, and it manifests as them. They don't even try really with women. They only attack other men because they don't think they can pull themselves up, so they try to pull you down. So, you know, when you're hanging out with them, they put down your ideas that show potential to grow and develop. When you're in a social setting together, they'll throw you under the bus. They'll tell stories about you that paint you in a bad image. When you're not around, they'll gossip, they'll start rumors, and you won't really realize that these people are doing this. And I was just such an innocent guy, man. And a lot of my life was wrongly spent trying to undo that. You know, especially when you're small, when you're like short, and you know, people are talking about tough guy crap, like who can fight who and who can beat people up. But that aside, the fact that I was a small guy aside, like, I was just good-hearted, good-natured. I didn't really want to throw people under the bus. I wasn't trying to pick on other people. And I just got dragged in such a negative direction trying to have pissing matches with these kind of like cruel people. And on a side note, one thing that I've thought of is like how I eventually started to mistreat people, and I think, well, why did I do that? It's because of my insecurities. It's because I was trying to show people that I have this place in the pecking order, and then you have to in return think maybe some of the people who did that to you, that's also why they did that. So then you think back through all these past experiences, it's like, okay, who was just trying to carve out their lane in the same toxic environment that you were, and then who was just like pure evil? And I think when you call somebody pure evil in this context, it's like there's a little dial of how deep those kind of problems. Like, I was struggling with insecurity, so I bullied people to try to feel better about myself. But then I think about the people who just completely try to sabotage you from all angles, gatekeeper friends, and then I think about how insecure some of them are. Like, it at least oftentimes comes from a very deep-rooted insecurity where they just don't think they have a shot. So the energy that they should be putting into developing themselves, it all goes into your smear campaign. It all goes towards basically what are like counterintelligence tactics against you. So that's pretty much it. I feel like it's a pretty straightforward concept. I think the most that I have to add is like where these people come from. Oftentimes, it's little Jimmy who you played video games with and watched movies, and it's like, hey, you want to stay the night? It's like, yeah, you know what? I actually kind of want to like practice for this competition that I'm getting involved in. Because, you know, you might realize that you're good at sports, or you have a hobby that you like, or you develop into something. Now, I don't dislike video games or movies. I talk about video games and movies a lot. But it is kind of a generic filler for empty people who don't really develop into anything. I mean, if you really, 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 really love video games, then be like a Metal Jesus Rocks or John Riggs or John Hancock, like one of these people who has like a video game channel, Angry Video Game Nerd. Like, be the best, you know? Be a freaking StarCraft esports champion or something. Probably a lot easier said than done, but if you love movies that much, do a film review channel. Like, there is a lane if you love video games and movies, but there's a lot of empty generic people where it's like the video games and movies are basically like popcorn or sweets or cranking it or just wasting time, you know? And so when you're like in social settings that you're going to be in high school, these people are going to just, I just kind of imagine it like, you know, looking both ways, and like you're riding by on some rollerblades and they kind of just like kick a stick out in front of you. They kick a stick out in front of your rollerblades and then you trip. It's like, oh dude, you just tripped over that stick, man. I tried to point it out for you, dude. It's like, didn't I just see you like throw it? It's like, no dude, I was trying to point at it. Like, look, there's a stick, bro. Don't trip over the stick. So there's a few ways that this can go as far as wrapping this video up, or like how you handle this and wrapping the video up. Hopefully you catch it soon. And like, because if you saw, it's like, you just think quietly in your mind, I just saw my best friend like throw a stick out in front of my rollerblades. What you do is like, oh, okay, bro, yeah, thanks for trying to point the stick out. Like, when you catch this behavior, and the sad thing is like, the kind of people that this happens to, like, you're good-natured, usually a little bit naive and unassuming, and people see that as stupid and weakness, and I can understand, like, you know, I'm not perfect, okay? I don't claim to be perfect. And nobody's perfect. A lot of great people aren't perfect, especially when you're young and undeveloped. Like, the places where you have potential is like outside of these kind of street smarts, okay? And people see you as a sucker. They see you as weak. And on some level, you kind of are weak and a sucker. But, you know, the meek shall inherit the earth. Like, you're nice. You're good to people. You're talented. You're smart. And all the things that matter, you have potential. But it just seems like the way that these things work out is you're going to kind of be a sucker. And when these people are, like, when it gets to a point where your entire life is basically filled to the brim with gatekeeper friends because you've tried to maintain this social circle even though you're headed in this direction and you're kind of set apart from your friends. And I'm sorry, man, like, this is really me. As somebody whose reputation is completely destroyed now, and it was already pretty much completely destroyed in my hometown before the stuff that's happened with my channel, I really gotta say that this is exactly what happened to me, man. Like, when my smear campaign started here because of the drama associated with my channel, I had a lot of former gatekeeper friends who were like, oh my gosh, look at this manna from heaven. This is ammunition that I can use against this guy, who I've ultimately been rooting against for the last 15 years. But anyway, wrapping it up, trying not to make it all about me and my experience. You gotta try to catch this early, man. Like, I wish I knew how to get people in high school to catch this stuff early, because that's so badly what I want. But at the end of the day, I'm not really trying to get high schoolers to watch my channel. And this will happen in college, okay? There will be all kinds of like fake people. But the thing is that for somebody to be a gatekeeper friend, they have to have already made their way into your life. And I gotta say, by the time I was like moving out of Boston, I had been there, you know, I'd been playing in these bands and stuff for like 3 years, and I'd known some of these people for like 5 years. I mean, some of those people kind of were starting to have like gatekeeper kind of attitudes, but the perfect environment, because it takes a lot of different circumstances, it's somebody who's been in your life for a very long time. And when you realize that this person's in your life, because it's messed up, bro. It's a very dark thing for little Jimmy, who you've known for 10, 15, 20 years. When they want you to fail, it's dark. It's really dark. And if you meet it with aggression, they're going to try to use it against you. Okay, this is just the narc tactics 101. It kind of goes hand in hand with being a narcissist or maybe a psychopath. Or deep, deep, deep insecurity. They hate themselves. They think they're a loser. They worship and believe in social norms. And like, they abide by the social norms so much that they know they can't live up to the social norms, so they're going to be like a slave to it. They have Stockholm syndrome to the social norms, so they know that they failed, but they want to convince everybody that you failed too, or enforce the rules of social norms. It's so crazy, man. And social media has totally harnessed this way of being. So many failed people are like militant agents of the social norms. And I hate it, bro, because I miss the way things used to be. But what you do is you think, how much time am I spending with this person? Just slowly, one less day. Let's spend one less day with this person this week. And just start, you know, when 3 out of 3 times you would say yes to whatever they want to do, throw in an excuse 1 out of 3 times. It's like, oh, you know what, dude, I'm starting this new thing and I can't. And then you just, you know, an excuse here, maybe a fake family vacation where you just like don't leave your house for a weekend. But be careful with lies, because like, hey bro, you said you were on a family vacation. One time I like snuck out of an overnight. I went to a friend's house for an overnight with one other guy, and it was like really boring. His parents were super strict, and there just wasn't really anything to do at his house. And I got invited to go camping with like a bunch of people, and it was more of like a party atmosphere that was like more the kind of stuff you want to do when you're like 17. And they're like, dude, come camping. I'm like, oh, you know, I'm at some like lame overnight at my friend's house. It's like, dude, just say that like your parents have to pick you up and we'll come pick you up. So that's what I did. I was like, oh, you know what, dude, I gotta babysit tomorrow, and my parents gotta pick me up. So yeah, I'm just gonna like walk down the street and my parents will pick me up. And then they picked me up and took me out to the party. That was kind of funny. But you gotta like slowly remove yourself, dude. You gotta remove yourself. And it's gonna get to a point where it's like, bro, we never chill anymore. And then that's where you're gonna have to explain to them, oh, you know what, man? I'm just kind of like doing a lot more productive stuff now, and I'm just not really like into overnights. I don't really smoke weed anymore. And by the way, drinking, smoking weed, doing drugs, that is like the perfect catalyst to surround yourself by manipulative losers who probably want you to fail if you have any talent or any potential. And if you ever say anything off color, they will record that in their memory, okay? I'm talking about somebody who told me that they literally don't have any memories. This is the first person one of these people that I saw. He's like, you know what? I don't remember anything from our past. Like, I don't remember anything. And when I told him that I remember everything, he brings up some Facebook science article like, oh, well, you know, studies are showing that like memories aren't even real. Like, people aren't even really able to remember. I'm like, bro, I remember my life. These are the same people. It's like, oh, well, I remember the time you did this. I remember the time you threw up. I remember the time this guy beat you up. I remember the time you talked shit. I remember all the other fucking times you got canceled. They remember all the dirt they have on you, but I don't remember anything else. These people got selective memories, bro. You are a grocery store, and their favorite aisle is everything that you ever did wrong. And we all got problems, man. Everybody made mistakes. And, man, I'm just living in this time where I've made a lot of progress and a lot of self-improvement, and I went through some crazy stuff, man. And, whoo, boy, is there a squad of people just going on a freaking parade trying to, like, shove my mistakes in everybody's face. And I'm still dealing with that, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to handle it. I really enjoy some of these Chosen Ones channels, man, because I think part of what could potentially make you a Chosen One is if a Gatekeeper friend just got really deep, man. Like, really, 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 really deep. Like, it's really unfortunate. And, everybody's always beating you over the head with the mistakes you've made in the smear campaign. Well, let me beat you over the head with this mistake, bro. Man, oh man, is it a shame that you didn't catch those Gatekeeper friends a couple of years in. Because these fuckers dig their way in, trying to sabotage you for literally like 10 years. And they've just been a little whisper here, a little whisper there. Oh, Jake, man, this is probably some of the kind of shit he says when I'm not around, or he did say. And, some of this is like 5-10 years ago, but in a small town like this, everybody has just kind of remembered all these little things about me, and it's really become a thing that, man, sometimes the words just slip. But, Jake, he's always upset about stuff, and he's just really got like a chip on his shoulder, just out there, like a little gossip here, a little gossip there, planting seeds in people. Yeah, Jake's really sensitive. Oh yeah, it's really easy for him to get angry. It's like, oh dude, he really like sucks with women. And then they try to plant seeds in you. They try to like talk crap about your ideas and the things that you do in your art. They kind of put down your positive sides. Oh, you know what, dude, like, nobody can really make it in that field anyway, and honestly, bro, like, you should probably just, like, spend more time getting drunk and smoking weed and hanging out, not, like, to get a girlfriend or anything, because you can't, but, dude, so I can just, like, gather more dirt on you. They kind of just put down your negative stuff, and then if they see something, like some bad behavior in you, it's like, dude, when you did that beer bong, like, that was awesome, bro. You should buy a beer bong. You should buy a beer bong, bro. Every time we start the night, like, you should start the night with a beer bong, bro. That's your new nickname. You're Beer Bong Jake now. Like, they just boasted up your negative things, and then all the while, and then, when you confront them or when you talk crap, it's like, oh, look, it's Beer Bong Jake. Yeah, this guy, it's really sad. He's an alcoholic. He does a freaking beer bong every time the party starts. They're gonna try to, like, create habits in you that, like, these people just play you like a puppet, dude. And it happens to, like, really nice, innocent, unassuming people. And I think one of the ways that you can become a Chosen One is by, like, you are a happy-go-lucky, just one of God's own, man. Not like you're moving mountains or you're a genius, okay? Because, people probably sense, like, a tad bit of, like, narcissism in some of these Chosen Ones people. It's not that you're, like, a genius or you're stupidly talented or anything. You have some elements of that, but you're just nice to people, dude. You're the kind of person who can, like, get on a knee and put out a hand, and a deer will come, like, eat something out of your hand. You're just gentle, positive, in a world full of people who all they know is material and competition and gossip, and you were just a genuine person, bro. And a lot of people who started off as your friends developed this jealousy and resentment towards you. And my biggest critique of you, man, and myself is like, man, if only you could have wisened up and kicked these people to the curb gently, quick. Because the smear campaign gets really ugly when you don't get these people out, man. So I think we've ranted about that enough. Gatekeeper friends, watch out for them. Sometimes it's just better to do it alone, guys. And if you're somebody who has dealt with a smear campaign, if you're someone who has dealt with gossip, definitely cling to the Bible, man. Because these are ultimately instruments of people who are worldly. These are the worldly ways. Slander, lies, worshipping social norms, that's worshipping the ways of the world. You really need to cling to your faith, man. Because I've had those moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many people who have heard these terrible things about me. A lot of stuff that's made up. Bro, I've seen the amount of lies that I've seen about me at this point. I've watched people lie about me in court at this point. I've seen like a woman like pretending to cry and be scared, lying about me in a court of law, bro. And I beat that. And you gotta cling to your faith, man. Because these are worldly people. And at some point you have to recognize, okay, the Bible is real, and this is something that's like leading in a more spiritual direction, and this is just beyond, you know, we were kids, we didn't know anything, we played video games and watched movies, didn't know anything about the world, didn't know anything about the propaganda that was in the movies and the video games, and now I know more about the world, and this is it. Like, this is God's world, this is Christ's world, Christ is king, and man, I'm so disappointed in so many people. Like, when you guys can stop being high off your own fumes about the lies that you've believed about me, let me know when you've gotten over it, because I just love for you guys to know how disappointed I am in all of you. Anyway, not you who's watching the video, but you know what I mean. God bless you, my friends. Watch out for the gatekeepers. Until next time, Reform Stoic out.